talk about it again. Just that perfect timing.
Terrence is just starting, like, his face after the Doomhammer draw was just like, you know, I expect that. Okay. Doomhammer, you know, to Shaman, I understand. But he's starting to, like, his face starts to get closer to his monitor. His palm on his face starts to get, like, closer to his eyes. He's forming a face palm right now, whether he is doing it consciously or not. And, you know, that's just sort of how the game goes sometimes. Chakki's just getting what he needs, and Terrence is going to have a tough time fighting back. This is a decent matchup for Freeze Mage. I mean, classically, Ramp Druid has struggled against Freeze Mage because they don't run damage from hand. But Cthulhu can really change that, and just having bigger threats earlier can change that as well.
Yeah, like the Harrison Jones here from Chakki as well, just to get some sort of pressure on the board. It will kind of like probe for Frostbolt or Fireball, and when that doesn't happen, you get a very good idea of where your hand is going. And so Swipe going to clean up these loot hoarders and then just keep the pressure on. I think Chakki's fairly confident that this Harrison Jones wasn't going to get checked unless Terrence actually drew an answer to it. But with 3 card draws, very likely to do so. But that's going to open up Chakki's hand. He's got so much in hand to work with. It's going to be a matter of, is this enough to keep enough pressure on Terrence that it's kind of like a repeat of last game? He has to expend too many resources to get it done.
Yeah, and at the moment he hasn't had any of those Cthulhu buffers. So, like, his twin imps are not activated. Cloxy Amber Weaver, which is usually a one of in the more common Cthulhu Druid lists, doesn't have an activator. It's not as big of a deal for Druid as it is for, you know, other classes that run Cthulhu, like Warrior, which has to use it to activate the Ancient Shield Bearers, or even Priest, which has to use it to activate the card that I don't know the name of because nobody plays Cthulhu Priest. Cult something, who knows?
Hooded Acolyte?
Hooded Acolyte. No, it's not even Hooded Acolyte. Is it Hooded Acolyte?
You talking about the heal one or the
heal one? Yeah.
The heal 10?
Heal 10, the Ancient Shield Bearer equivalent.
Yeah, I definitely don't know what that one is, but this is a great turn for Chakki here. Able to clean up the Emperor Thorson, get the double effect from that Fandral on Wrath and on Druid of the Claw. This is a lot of pressure coming out, and Terrence not answering that Fandral, he's going to have to respect it in some regard. I mean, I'd be a little bit surprised to not see Fandral bite the dust this turn.
Yeah.
And there it is. And so Chakki having Bran and Cthulhu's Chosen to activate that Twin Emperor in the next 2 turns. This is some pretty significant damage.
Twilight Darkmender. Just came to my head. I didn't mute my mic and Google it. But yeah.
Me either. Yeah, Twilight Darkmender. That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah, we're both 100% correct. Lore masters here.
And I just Googled it.
Yeah, Fandral Staghelm. Even though it doesn't have as many activators in this deck, there's not too many choose ones. The ones that there are pretty high impact. One being, of course, Druid of the Claw, which we see. Another one being Living Roots, which is just more of an annoyance than anything else. And Nourish, especially early on in the game, can be huge because you draw 3 cards and gain those mana crystals, which can be absurd. So one of the biggest threats that Druid has to offer at the moment.
Plus, combined with Wrath, it's like a better Azure Drake with that one in particular.
4 damage Wrath that draws a card. Yes, please.
Now Terrence is going to go. Alex draws into the Dome. Says, you know what, Chakki, if you got the damage, go ahead and take it. And Chakki doesn't have the damage, but what he does have is Emperor and Bran. Twin Emperor and Bran. And so how does he want to handle this situation? I mean, this is 3 4/6s being made from this card.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Just go for it and hope you find enough damage before time runs out. The trade here actually isn't bad. But I just don't feel like there's much of a reason to because of the taunt wall that you have. That Alexstrasza is not getting through anytime soon.
Yeah, that's the Great Wall of Cthulhu right there. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 damage available for Terrence's turn. But he's going to be relegated to digging for answers. I mean, he has to stop this incoming damage.
Yeah. Because he's just like a swipe and a Living Roots away from losing the game.
Yeah, I mean, he actually doesn't have a way to stop that right now. So his question is going to be, what's my best chance to win in the face of Chakki just having minions in hand? And Chakki already has Living Roots, but he's used a swipe at this point. second Druid of the Claw would be an out as well, and he's going to have 2 draws for it because of that wild growth.
Yeah, I mean, Terrence here can go for something like Frostnova Doomsayer plus Frostbolt Iceland's Face. He freezes the board, he gets rid of the board, and he also freezes the face. He also puts on damage, which means he's like a damage out away, whether it be second Fireball, the Roaring Torch is in his deck, something along those lines.
Now, he's going to go for Frostbolt Icelands, but I imagine he's going to ping here instead.
Yeah, that's... You don't really worry about the board now because you're sort of dead in a few turns anyway, like with your opponent having so many outs, and you sort of need to reduce the clock by 1.
Dark Arakoa is not it. This is going to be wild growth for the lead here, and Chakki. This needs a huge draw. I think if he's going to close this game right now, this is a window of opportunity. And Twilight Elder is not going to be any help, so this is probably Dark Arakoa, Hero Power, and go.
I mean, do you even Dark Arakoa? Because you want to make room for that second Druid of the Claw.
Oh, you're right. That's a really good point. Dark Arakoa is actually kind of a liability at this point. Yeah, you're right. You don't play anything. That's a very good catch. Blood Mage, 7 to 8 damage available for Terrence. He can dig for that extra damage here. That's exactly what he's going to do.
Still not there yet. Oh, well, Ice Block.
Ice Block.
That gives him another turn, which is just as important, I think.
Well, not quite yet. I mean,
I guess not as important as winning, but
given what happened last turn, Blizzard, I think, is just as effective as Ice Block here. And so with that Blood Mage draw, I mean, he's right on the cusp of damage here. How does he want to play this? Because if he plays the Blizzard, I don't know if he can actually add Blood Mage to the board here, but he wants to get the extra draw. But then Chakki's going to Hero Power and take himself to 11. So if the Blood Mage actually dies somehow on this board, you don't get the damage from it, so you have to draw a bigger damage spell instead. Whew. This is a weird spot.
Yeah. I think I just like the ping. Oh no, it's so hard. Yeah, I think the ping, because risking your Blood Mage dying and losing that damage, even though you get the extra draw, like you would need
more. Gets drawn, and that's with the brand. Chakki's gonna lock this game up. 20 damage. He bleeds for Cthulhu. A 2-0 lead for Chakki here. Wow, what a huge draw that one was. I mean, granted, Druid of the Claw is still there. A swipe is still there. He can Raven Idol into some of the discovers. I mean, we're looking at Bite, Swipe, or Druid of the Claw could potentially be outs there if he chooses. Let's say chooses to go for Minion for some reason. Starfire would have been an out on the Raven Idol. So quite a few draws that actually make a big impact there. But I'd say it's probably close to about 25% of the cards left in Chakki's deck could have ended the game that turn.
I was about to say, wow, Cthulhu's not even a guaranteed lethal. I forgot that the brand was on the board, and Chakki even had like Innervate Living Roots if he needed the extra damage, which would if brand wasn't on the board. So big convoluted way to say forgot that brand was there. But Chakki's got a 3 or a 2-game lead now, and just one more game, and with 3 opportunities to win with Zoo. Even though that first match is against Freeze Mage, this is pretty likely that Chakki takes this series. We'll see if TerrenceM can, if he has that Zoo counter strategy like we saw from Just Saying earlier, it might be a little bit hard for Chakki to take a win, but with 3 chances, I don't know.
Yeah. Now, this is the deck that also brought the Bane to Terrence at DreamHack. Chakki was down 1-2 and went 2-0 with Zoo in that last Hero Standing format. So hopefully Terrence, for his sake, can actually pull out some games here. But Chakki, and this is a great opening hand for Chakki too. I mean, Councilman, as we saw in the last Freeze Mage matchup, it got in some damage and forced a Fireball from Just Saying and put him in a spot where he actually was at a disadvantage to win overall. And so Coin Councilman here, this is scary. Terrence does not have an answer for this right now. He'd have to Frostbolt Icelance if he wants to take care of it.
And that's not only a full turn to be able to do that, but that's also burn resources that are sometimes a crucial win condition in this matchup, where there's times where your opponent has a good early start where you just have to sort of turn on the burn and go for the go to face plan as Warlocks damage themselves. But that's a sick hand from Chakki. You pick him the Dark Peddler, which is great in this matchup because it allows you to pick up that burn that you need to close out the game faster a lot earlier in the game.
Yeah, Knife Juggler here is very strong, though, because now there's 2 priority kills on board for Terrence. Do you kill the Knife Juggler, or do you kill the Dark-Sharded Councilman. Both of these effectively deal extra damage for each minion that hits the board. He's got, once again, no real way to stop both of these minions. He's got no Frost Nova. This hand is light on action, and there's a ton of pressure he's facing down.
Oh, man. He doesn't have a Frost Nova to buy time for his Blizzard. I mean, I think he has to dig for very few outs here and try and go for one turn where he just says, I'm going to let you do as much damage as possible. I'm going to try and cycle as much as I can and get that Frost Nova. But he opts to ping instead of that Novice Engineer. You got to respect that, but still.
Juggler and Councilman live this turn as well. Wow. He didn't even need it, honestly. I mean, his hand is already good enough. But this is massive. I cannot see a situation where Chakki does not go for Forbidden Ritual here. I mean, I guess maybe in this situation. So Chakki wants some space on his board. So in the event that Terrence plays a Doomsayer here, maybe he can draw like Crazed Alchemist to get out of this. And that actually is honestly kind of a small bluff here as well, even of that card. And not only this, but now he also got the Dark Iron Dwarf he can add. Terrence is at 9, and it's his turn 5.
Each one of those tentacles was 2 extra damage plus a 1/1 on the board. That is absurd. And yeah, now he's setting up for the Blizzard, but I mean, how much? I mean, I guess he just doesn't have room on his board.
He's got 9 total damage this turn, so he can once again set Terrence in lethal range. But it plays into Blizzard quite a bit. But honestly, I don't even know if that's something that Chakki's really concerned with right now. I mean, I imagine Dark Iron Dwarf's hitting the board. It will live through a Blizzard as well to just be sort of a resilient threat. But I think he's doing some math here. Can Dark Peddler maybe pull out enough to end this? The answer is no. But he can use those Dark Peddlers next turn, and say he picks up some Soulfires. Maybe we could see some action there as well. But Terrence is 100% relegated to Blizzard this turn unless he draws Frost Nova.
Yeah.
It's going to be followed up by potentially Flame Strike next turn. He does have Ice Block in hand. So Chakki will be able to reload this board, but this is the kind of turn where Freeze Mage can maybe pull this out, is once it gets to this spot, if it can stave off all the damage, it can find those turns to fit in all the damage spells. But he's got to find the damage spells first.
Yeah.
So everything's kind of working against him right now. He's going to have to expend all his resources and doesn't really have the gas in hand to hold off. He's just got a couple of Ice Blocks.
All right, well, now Chakki's faced with some decisions. He can try and dig for burn spells with that Dark Peddler, or he can play the Ink Boss, which sort of guarantees that he has something stick around going into the next turn. I like the Ink Boss because this is much less susceptible to Flame Strike or, just some types of clearing spells, board clearing spells, which Terrence absolutely has to have because he's at 8 health.
How often do you see Forbidden Ritual for 1?
I mean, I am actually a big fan of the play, just because a lot of times Forbidden Ritual is just there to help fill your curve, I feel. I mean, yeah, there's sometimes where it's a big power swing, but having being able to use that floating mana that you have that would otherwise make Zoo a little more clunky in some situations I think is great. All right, well, he's going to dig here. Ice Block is set up, but he needs a lot more help than that.
Yeah, this is just going to go with Doomsayer here. Now, this is going to be a decision from Chakki. Is he going to try to pop this block, or what he perceives as an Ice Block, or is he going to try to kill this Doomsayer? So this is actually a really strong play here from Terrence as well, to set this up and force a decision from Chakki. I mean, that's really what you see a lot of strong Freeze Mage players do, too, is when their backs are against the wall, they try to fork the decisions from the other players so that they have to take one way or the other, and then hope that they have a way to punish the direction they took.
I'm surprised he didn't go with the tap first there.
Well, life tapping may not even be a thought in his mind anymore. I know we've seen, Chakki and I've cast some games where players have lost because they life tapped a second time.
Yeah, but I mean, he's at 28. He's only tapped once this game, so it's not like he's in the danger. But I mean, now he has to pick up burn because at the moment he just doesn't have a way to pop the block or kill the Doomsayer. Because the way that this Dark Iron Dwarf is lined up, Chakki's just sort of resigned to, unless he picks up Power Overwhelming, he's just resigned to letting his board just die. And that's a big deal.
He's just going to play the Possessed Villager, try to get anything going. This will occupy a little bit of mana here from Terrence, but pretty inconsequential given his hand at the moment. Ooh, Acolyte of Pain gets drawn. That's a good one.
Yeah, a little bit awkward. He needs to fit in the ping to get rid of this 1/1. He can't afford to leave that up, so Acolyte of Pain, though, will be able to do some work in the next coming turns. But now TerrenceM, he's cleared the board. He's got initiative. We'll see if he can live through it.
Yeah, this actually might have gone downhill from Chakki at this point. He didn't have the damage to pop an Ice Blocker, try to close this one out here. And so we're just going to load the board up. Hope that this is enough. Terrence, it's right into his Flame Strike.
Yeah, man. I mean, your opponent is just going to have to reload the board every time. You know that he doesn't have... Well, I mean, it's hard to say if he has Leroy or not, because Leroy does want to be safe for a finisher, but since he has Ice Block up and he knows that Chakki knows it's an Ice Block, then I guess there's really not really a way to play around it anyway. So he's just going to throw everything out there, keep cycling. This Loot Horror getting it for 2 damage a turn can actually be a big deal.
Yeah, Chakki potentially regretting using that Forbidden Ritual now for that extra 1/1, and he's going to have to be life tapping. Now this starts to be the dangerous territory here for Zoo, is that they have to life tap to keep up after all the AoE spells, and so they start putting themselves into that burn range. Terrence has already gotten 2 damage out of this Loot Hoarder, and you can see here Chakki even reluctant to add the Flame Up to the board at this point. Terrence, just all the options. I mean, the tides have certainly turned into Terrence's favor at this point.
Oh, 100%.
Wow, here we go. He's even going to push damage. I like this.
Yeah, I mean, he's setting it up. He's got the Blood Mage Thanos on the board. He might as well make use of it. He's going to put him down to, that's an extra 4, 5, 6 damage. He's going to put him down into a range where he can no longer tap safely. And instead of fitting that ping, he decides to go ahead and Acolyte of Pain.
Yeah, so Chakki can pop the Ice Block this turn, but kind of at what cost? And Terrence with another Ice Block in hand. You know, he's got so many draws to find a single burn spell. Yeah, I mean, I think Terrence is probably close to like 95 to 99% to win this game.
And considering he has 4 guaranteed draws next turn, he's likely to find one of those burn spells.
Yeah, he needs a single point of damage to end this one. So even, actually, this is 100% locked up, because even in the face of him not drawing a burn spell, he can just ping. He can set the Ice Block, attack for 3, and then ping him. Yeah, Terrence was 100% to win this after the way he set this up. Very brilliantly played by him, with a pretty bad opening hand from Terrence, I would say, too. Does eventually land a Doomsayer, though. Chakki couldn't find any action off the Peddlers. And we're going to game number 4. Terrence fending off the sweep for now. But now Shaman and Warlock have to pick up those wins.
Yeah, that's a bold call to just play that Doomsayer out there like that as well. You know, and that's one of those plays where it's not obvious. Play the Doomsayer and then Frost Nova, or sorry, Ice Lance a damaged Dark Iron Dwarf. That's not an easy play, and it's a play that won Terrence the game effectively. Chakki didn't find good draws on his Dark Peddlers. He threw out a lot of his board to try and find something to either pop the block or deal with the Doomsayer. It couldn't, and Terrence was rewarded. So looks like we're going to go to the good old-fashioned Zoo Mirror, which I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot of today. Terrence is a player that in the past I feel like has played a lot of Arena Lock, but you know, it's the day and age of the Zoo.
Some pretty strong hands in both players as well. Terrence actually natural Mortal Coil in the build, but Chakki's hand with 3 minions. This is like 3 of Argent Squires effectively. Like, this is a pretty good open. And Chakki with that Power Overwhelming will be able to answer the Darkshire Councilman as well. So we'll see if Forbidden Ritual can maybe break this stalemate a bit. Chakki picks up Defender of Argus here, so kind of looking forward to those turns are coming up. Will take the trade, doesn't want Knife Juggler to kind of rain terror on this board.
The light protects me.
That's a pretty solid opening, though, especially with Possessed Villager. So much better with power overwhelming now. Instead of like in the past, those 1-drops would be either like Boardwalker or Archer Squire. This leaves something around, which is a pretty big deal.
Yep. Possessed Villager power overwhelming, like you said, it's so good. It was such a big buff to effectively Argent Squire in this build.
Still does not hold a candle to the old Nerubian egg.
No,
but nonetheless, a great drop to sort of add to the repertoire of the zoo.
Well, but significant board presence here from Chakki will land a double minion Defender of Argus next turn. And that's one of those devastating plays that happens in this matchup is when a player gets to Defender of Argus and clear this off. It's going to start with Mortal Coil. And we'll see how he wants to finish after this. Oh, that Flame Imp's going to get chewed through, and Chakki's going to have a massive board lead.
Yeah.
Wow, this is so good for Chakki.
I mean, I feel like we've been saying that so many times throughout the course of this series, but that's just been how it's going for Terrence throughout this matchup. And I mean, he has had some pretty solid plays, but Chakki's getting that initiative with those 3-1 drops, and TerrenceM being forced to, try and play that reactive style, which doesn't usually work out when you're playing as a zoo. You want to be able to be the one making the trades instead of the one watching your opponent make the trades.
This is going to get chewed through as well. Chakki even draws Dart Peddler to fill out the curve. So this looks like Flame Imp and Imp Gang Boss, and then Knife Juggler and Evaluate.
Yeah. And he's trading first before he plays that Knife Juggler.
We'll trade the Argent Squire once the guaranteed hit here.
Yeah. Or very likely hit.
Yeah.
I mean, even if he has to trade in that Defender of Argus, he's still pretty happy. And, oh, man. Absolutely brutal.
Brutal for Terrence. Takes 6 more damage on top of this. 2 more damage on top of this as well. That draw is not going to get it done. Forbidden Ritual looks awful in the face of a Knife Juggler here. No way to answer it. Just Chakki's open was just too much.
Yeah. I mean, Forbidden Ritual a lot of times can be the start of a comeback against Zoo because you're putting out so many minions on the board. It's hard for your opponent to trade. You can use buffs next turn, but with a Knife Juggler staring at him on the other side of the board, he already knows that Chakki could make favorable trades across this board. So, I mean, this is even just a lot of damage. 4, 8...
15 damage if this juggle somehow goes to face. Now, this is going to clear up the entire board as well.
I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like, even if you leave all of your stuff at 1 health, like, that's how you play this matchup, is you just trade endlessly. And, Doomguard from Terrence, but it's just not enough. Well played comes out. That's going to be a concede. Chakki takes the win, takes the series. And he's going to be moving on to face Just Saiyan in the winners round.
Yeah, I mean, what is there to say about that game? Chakki opened very strong with Zoo, checked the Darkstar Councilman, landed a Defender of Argus on an Argent Squire that traded into a Flame Imp. That's game in the Zoo mirror.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. All there is to say about that one. But Terrence, of course, not out of the tournament yet. He will move down to the lower bracket, the elimination match, to face off against Phone Tap to see who's going to stay alive and make it to the decider match. Of course, at the end of the day, 2 players will be moving on from Group A to make it to that final day on Sunday to compete for that $6,000 prize pool, and of course to compete for that spot at the One Nation of Gamers LAN finals, the $20,000 LAN finals, which happen at PAX Prime at the end of the year. But I believe we have a winners match coming up next. I believe is what the schedule says. Which will be Chakki and okay, yes, I've confirmed it is winners match. Chakki versus Just Saiyan. So that's a good matchup. We're gonna have to take a quick break before we jump into that match, but don't go anywhere, guys. More One Nation of Gamers 2016 circuit action right after this.